Well, this is the Prime Minister's most historic diplomatic visit to Israel. In fact, he will be reaching Israel in a short while from now when the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, will also be greeting him personally at the airport. In a three-day visit, terrorism and defense deals will certainly top the agenda. The most significant deal on the table is a $400 million deal for India's first armed I-10 drones. Here's more in this report.
As India and Israel make history this week with the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to the Jewish state, the two nations are taking their very solid defense ties to a historic new level. Israel had signed up to supply India with its first ever drones capable of missile strikes, very much like the American Predator and Reaper drones in Afghanistan, Pakistan and Iraq. In 2015, India cleared a $400 million deal for 10 Israeli aerospace Heron TP drones known in their country as ETAN. The drones will come armed with missiles to strike targets with surgical precision at safe ranges, negating the need to endanger the lives of Indian Air Force pilots and larger aircraft. The Indian military has been captivated for years by the capabilities demonstrated by the US Predator drones on the Afghan-Pakistan border and has longed to at least have the option of wielding such weapon systems against terror camps across the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. While the Indian Army conducted a blistering surgical strike last year on Pakistani terror launch pads in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, more than 45 terror camps still flourish across the line of control. While airstrikes with human pilots are difficult and dangerous, drone strikes are more conceivable in the circumstances. The drones, locked down in a quiet deal by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government in 2015, gives India's military planners its first long-endurance drones capable of 30-hour-long flights for intelligence and reconnaissance, and for the first time, deployment of weaponry to destroy targets on ground and fly autonomously back to base. The acquisition of the Heron TP combat aerial vehicles will be a game changer for India in this region. It will be a big asset in the war on Pakistan-sponsored terror. But these combat unmanned aerial vehicles are not the only acquisition from Israel that will change the face of India's relationship with that country. Short-range surface-to-air missile, MRSAM's medium-range surface-to-air missile and quick-reaction surface-to-air missiles are also being talked about. With Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Israel, deliveries of the game-changer drones could begin any day now, as India gets set for a historic, though controversial new capability the country's enemies will be watching. With Padmaja Joshi in Israel, Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, let me go straight across now to Jacqueline Solomon, who's joining us from Israel. Jacqueline, this is indeed a very important landmark visit by the Indian Prime Minister. And apart from the key defense deals that is expected to be on the agenda, India really looking forward to working with Israel and strengthening strategic partnerships in other areas as well.
I'm not able to hear you. Can you please repeat that? I'm sorry.
Jacqueline, can you hear me? So I'm saying apart from the defense deals, India looking forward to strengthening bilateral nations, strengthening strategic partnerships in other areas as well.
Oh yes, it is much more than the defense. It's also the agriculture and the water salination that we are technologically very much advanced in. This is something that would be beneficial both for Israel and India. Yes.
Right, and Executive Editor Gaurav Sawant is also joining us for more on this. In terms of defense deals, Gaurav, what can we expect, to get from Israel? Because the Prime Minister himself is very impressed with Israel's military might and has marveled at, the technological expertise that Israel boasts of.
One important aspect of this visit is how can state-owned defense industries be made profitable and cutting edge. That is what India will expects to learn from Israel and bring that professionalism into military industrial hardware complex. That's one part of the visit. But as Jacqueline was pointing out, the main focus of this visit is to see how India and Israel together can work on whether it's agriculture, whether it's water management. Those are aspects that benefit millions and millions of people across the country, especially in parts of this country where there are droughts. How did a country like Israel convert desert land into orchards? That is something that they would be exploring. So that is one aspect of this visit. The second aspect, as you very rightly pointed out, is about military hardware. So as India Today's Shiv Arur has been reporting how India will get the supply of the first unmanned combat aerial vehicles, the Heron TPs. That's a game changer as far as India is concerned. This will give India the ability, or at least the opportunity, to be able to strike at enemy targets without risking the lives of Indian Air Force pilots. This could be terrorist training camps, this could be high-profile terrorists, and this would then make the enemy or the adversary that uses terror as state policy rethink its policy about using terror as state policy.
And Jacqueline, there's just so much excitement around this visit. This is the first time that the Indian Prime Minister will be visiting Israel, and perhaps that's exactly why Israel is going just all out to ensure that this visit indeed is a memorable one.
Yes, this is exactly the reason. And we are really stressing on this. This is the first time Indian Prime Minister is ever visiting the state of Israel. And much more than that, we are having a community event of about 5,000 to 7,000 people attending this, which is going to be a very big event of all the Indians coming together in Israel to welcome the Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
This is the highlight of the visit.
And, Jacqueline, the fact, in a rare share of warmth, we're seeing the Prime Minister of Israel taking a personal interest himself, accompanying the Indian Prime Minister, through the 3-day visit, also speaks volumes of the chemistry of the relations that both the leaders share.
So very true, and we were so happy to hear also when a week ago when our Prime Minister in Israel also mentioned that his friend Mr. Narendra Modi is coming to visit him. That's how he puts it up, and he has actually emptied his diary and is going to be only with Mr. Narendra Modi from the time he lands until his departure from Israel. Yes.
And Gaurav, when we speak of technology, counter-terror policy, when we speak of their military might, Israel is unmatched. In fact, the Prime Minister also mentioned that it may be a very small nation compared to other like Turkey and Iran, the two most important regional heavyweights, but there's just so much to learn from and to take from Israel during this trip.
Spot on there, Avantika. Now, let's split this visit into various aspects. So, 3 days Prime Minister Narendra Modi spends in Israel. As Jacqueline was telling us, the fact that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will spend most of those 3 days with Prime Minister Narendra Modi goes on to show the importance that Israel attaches to relationship with India and India attaches to this relationship with Israel. Also, there is no visit to Palestine. So, this marks a major shift in terms of India not wanting to balance the two, even though, India hosted Palestinian president in India just a short while back. So that way, India has great relations with all the Arab states, whether it's Saudi Arabia or UAE.
Absolutely.
India is taken care of separately. Israel, India is taken care of separately. When it comes to military hardware, that's a very important aspect of this relationship. Counter-terror cooperation, is one of the cornerstones of the relationship. But also, what is extremely important and something that India is really stressing on in this trip is cooperation in agriculture and water management, because that is something that affects millions and millions of people across this country. While India and Israel
balancing act also needs to be highlighted and appreciated, isn't it, Gaurav? Because, we have seen the reluctance from his predecessors in the past. He's the first Prime Minister who has taken such a bold step and gone ahead. And there's been a lot of work over the last 4 years with regards to his visit to Saudi Arabia, to Iran. So really, the Prime Minister doing a fine job at balancing relationships.
spot on there, and that is something that India has made very clear. Our relationship with any one country does not impact our relationship with another country, and they may have adversarial relations. And this is something that Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself has spoken of, and that is where India does play a very crucial role, even when it comes to international relations. So that's been one of the key highlight areas or success areas of this establishment, of this government. When we specifically talk of Israel and counter-terror cooperation, something as small as rifles to smart fences, these are areas where India expects to learn a lot, and not just in terms of a buyer-seller relations, but the aim is to be able to acquire that technology to manufacture in India and then sell to another country.
All right, Jacqueline and Gaurav, thank you both for joining us. In fact, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has also reciprocated a similar feeling, saying that he too is looking forward to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Israel.
מחר יגיע לישראל נרנדרה מודי ידידי, ראש ממשלת הודו, הדמוקרטיה הגדולה ביותר בעולם. וזהו ביקור היסטורי וראשון של ראש ממשלה של הודו בישראל אחרי 70 שנה. וזה ביטוי לכך שהיחסים בינינו לבין הודו הולכים ומתהדקים.
Okay, at a time when everyone has a lot of expectations from the Prime Minister's visit to Israel, comes breaking news and a reaction from AIMIM leader Asauddin Owaisi, who has slammed the Prime Minister's visit to Israel, saying that it's unfortunate that the Prime Minister has no time to visit Palestine as well. So that's the reaction coming in from Asauddin Owaisi. Let's listen in.
First time we are seeing that the Indian Prime Minister is visiting to Israel for the first time. For 3 days he is going to be accosted by the Israeli Premier, and the Prime Minister has no time to go and meet the Palestinians. Why? I mean, this has been a continuous policy of various governments which are in power. That is why I say that the connection over here, though we have a 50 billion trade with Israel excluding arms, and Israel has been, in United Nations Human Rights Council have shown that Israel is involved in criminal actions, but we still abstain from voting against Israel. We are going to sign many agreements with Israel. What are those defense agreements? With which companies who have been blacklisted for kickbacks? When Mr. Modi says, "Na khaunga, na khane dunga," then why is he giving those contracts to those companies which are involved in kickbacks?
Welcome back. In a touching gesture by the Indian Prime Minister during his 3-day visit to Israel, he will also be meeting with Moshe Holzberg, the Israeli child who tragically lost his parents in the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. Well, the child is now 11 years old. The Prime Minister will be meeting Moshe's Indian nanny, Sandra Samuels, as well, who managed to escape along with him from Nariman House. Moshe's heart-wrenching picture, along with his nanny, Sandra Samuels, holding him close to her chest after escaping the terror attack, is still etched in everybody's mind. Moshe, in fact, at that time was barely 2 years old when he lost both of his parents, serving as emissaries of Chabad House in Mumbai, and were killed by the terrorists during the attack at Nariman House.
Mr. Modi visit to Israel, message to the whole world is that good people needs to get together to decide to do good things. And I hope and pray that both of those nations will profit and will benefit from the relationship between India and Israel in all fields, in society, in economy, and in health, in water, in agriculture, everything that we can offer and India can offer, it's important for.
This building behind us was one of the targets during 26/11 attacks in Mumbai. This is Chabad House in Kolaba, wherein Moshe lost his parents. Now, after 9 years, it's the first Prime Minister of India who will be meeting Moshe in Israel, and it's being said that the family is very happy and excited, saying that India still remembers us. This building seems to be very much renovated now with modern technique of defense. But at this point, what is important is the emotional attachment which PM Modi has shown. And it is important to make them believe that they are still Indian citizens, and this country will always remember the sacrifice of Moshe's parents. With camera person Raju Revanka, Mustafa Sheikh in Mumbai for India Today.